We turn now to that remarkable scientific breakthrough. 13,000 years after the last dire wolf walked the earth, scientists say they've now brought them back. Here's our chief national correspondent, Matt Gutman, with the video tonight.
Tonight, a howl 13,000 years in the making. In a first for science, biotech company Colossal Biosciences says it brought the extinct direwolf back to life, a species that hasn't walked the earth since the Stone Age.
The direwolf is the first de-extinct species.
Well known from HBO's hit show Game of Thrones, ABC News given exclusive access into Colossal's lab in Dallas, where scientists are using genes from gray wolves to create dire wolves.
We've taken a gray wolf genome, a gray wolf cell, which is already genetically 99.5% identical to dire wolves, and we've edited those cells at multiple places in its DNA sequence to contain the dire wolf version of the DNA. That animal looks like a dire wolf, it will behave like a dire wolf, and it is a dire wolf.
Now, 7 months old, dire wolves Romulus and Remus eating well and getting bigger every day. And David, the company tells us they're not stopping there. They plan to have woolly mammoths roaming the earth again by 2028. But critics argue that this de-extinction could harm fragile ecosystems. David?
Yeah, the images are really something, Matt. Thank you.
Welcome back to From the Desk of Dr. Dandridge, where faith meets facts and ancient truths speak in today's strangest headlines. Now, today I want to talk about something that sounds like it came straight out of Jurassic Park. But as you can see, it's very real. According to a recent Time magazine article, scientists are on the brink of bringing back an extinct creature. As a matter of fact, they already have. The dire wolf. Yes, the massive sharp-toothed predator made famous in pop culture by Game of Thrones, with deep roots in Earth's real history. But what does this actually mean for science, for ethics, and yes, even for theology? That's what we want to talk about today. Here's the backdrop. The dire wolf has been extinct for about 10,000 years. It once roamed North America and was a fierce predator alongside woolly mammoths and saber-toothed cats. Now, thanks to advanced genetics, resurrections, and science, researchers have isolated enough of the dire wolf's ancient DNA to begin what they're calling a reconstruction. Not cloning exactly, but through gene editing, inserting key traits into the genome of closely related species like the gray wolf. Some scientists are hailing this as the next frontier of conservative biology, what they call de-extinction. And to be fair, there's a strong case to be made that this could be good for our world. Imagine using these techniques to bring back species that humans carelessly wiped out, or rebuilding biodiversity and ecosystems devastated by climate change. But before we start cheering for the return of prehistoric predators, let's slow down. Because anytime you start talking about resurrecting the past, you raise deep spiritual, ecological, and even moral questions. Now, here's how I want to take a different turn. Because as a theologian, as a scholar, and someone who believes that all life is designed with purpose, this isn't just a science story. It's a God story. And maybe a God warning. See, the Bible is filled with language about the power of creation and, more importantly, the limits of humanity's role in it. In Genesis 1:25-28, God tells us that humans have dominion over the earth and all of its creatures. But dominion does not mean domination. It means stewardship. So the question becomes, are we stewarding creation or are we rewriting it? Let me go a little bit deeper. Because the Bible is also clear that life and death are not ours to command. Ecclesiastes 3:2 says, there's a time to be born and a time to die. In my opinion, the dire wolf had its time. It vanished with the shifting of climate and land. It went through extinction long before modern civilization. And now we're saying we can bring it back. But should we? Because here's a loop I want you to hold open. What if extinction in some cases is actually a part of divine balance? Are we interrupting something God intentionally closed? The book of Job, the 38th chapter, verses 4 and 5, when God questioned Job, reads, "Where were you when I laid the foundations of the earth? Tell me if you have understanding." See, here's the thing. We keep pushing boundaries, but are we ready for the spiritual consequences? All right, let's get practical real quick, and then I'm going to let you all go. Let's say we bring back the dire wolf. What happens when it's released into the wild? Are we assuming it will just slide back into place in a world that's moved on? Our current ecosystems have evolved without this apex predator. Its return could have ripple effects, throwing off food chains, threatening livestock, even leading to new territorial conflicts between species. And if we completely bring back the dire wolf, what else will we try next? As you can see, they've already been talking about a woolly mammoth. Could they also be talking about bringing back a dodo bird? Extinct species that went away for a reason that we might not fully understand, do they plan on bringing those back as well? It sounds like a scientific miracle, but could it become a biological disaster? Now you might be thinking, Dr. Dandridge, what does this have to do with me? Well, let me flip that question. What if the question is not just about bringing animals back from extinction, but how far are we willing to go to undo consequences that we're uncomfortable with? We live in a culture obsessed with control over life, over death, over nature, and even over God's boundaries. But maybe, just maybe, this is one area where the wisdom of Scripture still speaks loud and clear. We are caretakers, not creators. Now, don't hear what I'm not saying. Science isn't the enemy. In fact, some of these genetic breakthroughs could actually help preserve endangered species, correct past human mistakes, and maybe even lead to medical discoveries through DNA editing. These tremendous potentials are good here. But the real question is not can we? The question is, should we? And who decides? So here's the thing. I don't have all the answers. I'm just here to make the conversations. But I do believe this moment invites us into a deeper reflection on what it means to be human, to be faithful, to be wise. Because the return of the dire wolf might be just the beginning. And the deeper issue, we're not just resurrecting creatures, we're resurrecting control. What happens when science outpaces wisdom? That's a question we'll continue exploring in future conversations, especially as more de-extinction projects get the green light. So stay tuned because we're not done yet. Here's the thing, if today's conversation stirred up something inside of you, whether it was awe, curiosity, or even concern, I want you to do three things. Number one, subscribe so that you never miss one of these conversations where faith meets science. Do me a favor, share this episode with someone who loves animals, who cares about the environment, or just needs a fresh biblical perspective on a very modern issue. And then lastly, put something in the comments. Let me know your thoughts. Do you think bringing back extinct animals is a marvel of human potential or a dangerous overstep of divine territory? Until next time, thank you for joining me at my desk. I'm Dr. Dandridge, reminding you that some boundaries exist for a reason. And sometimes wisdom means asking, how far can we go? But should we go there at all?